Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, depending on when you are checking this out. What we are going to look at today is we're going to look at multiplying a one-digit number by a two-digit number, and we're going to be using models again. Now, remember in our last lesson, we looked at base 10 blocks. Blocks like that and that and that would equal 12. Now that was the last lesson. This lesson is going to be a little bit different. We're still going to use models, but models in a different sense. So let's just get right to it. If I give you a problem like 4 times 12, well, that's pretty easy, Mr. A. I can do that. You could be able to do it, but at the same time, would you know what it would look like using a model? That's what I want us to think about today. So 4 times 12 using a model. Here's what it's going to look like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle. And on my rectangle, I'm going to go ahead and label two different sides. The first side that I'm going to label is that. Notice 4, just like my problem, 4. But now I have this 12. Oh, that's easy, Mr. A. I'm going to go ahead and label that 12. Well, not quite yet. Instead of labeling it 12, we're going to break this down and make it a little bit easier for us. So I'm going to think to myself, if I could break up 12 into two different numbers to make it really easy for myself, what would I break it up into? Well, there are a lot of possibilities, but since this has already reached over the number 10, I want to go ahead and use that number. So I'm going to think to myself, 10. Now, let's think to ourselves. What do we add on to 10 to get 12? If you said 2, then you are correct. So I'm going to go ahead, instead of putting 12 as my answer right there, I'm going to break it apart. I'm going to go ahead and say that this long section is going to be 10. And this short section here is going to be 2. So now I have 10 here and 2 here. Does that make sense? Think about it. If you combine 10 and 2 together, you get 12. So it's still using the number 12 right there, but we're just breaking it apart. Now this is what we call an area model. What I'm going to use with this area model is I'm going to go ahead and take this 4 and this 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and multiply them together, because I want you to think to yourselves. If I had 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 going up and down, and then I had 10 going across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What I would do is I'd have to multiply 4 times 10. Now we don't always have to draw those little boxes in between. In fact, just like I said, I'm not going to draw those boxes in between. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and show what 4 times 10 is. And we should know that 4 times 10 equals 40. Now, we can do the same thing, and you have to think to yourself, what do you think this side's going to be? If you said 4, you're correct, because on rectangles, opposite sides are equal. So now I have, instead of 4 plus 2, I can say 4 times 2. And that equals 8. So now I have 40, and I have 8. I'm just going to go ahead and simply combine them together, get 48. That is using an area model. Now that's a little bit more in detail than what we're used to, but it's, you know what, if we keep practicing it, we'll do just fine. So what I want you to do is go back, and if you need help, go back and looking through this video again and seeing and catching up any things that you need to catch up on. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll talk to you later.